If someone comes in complaining of excessive thirst, hunger, and urination, a trained nurse would suspect diabetes and test their blood sugar levels. Or if someone comes in complaining of frequent urination with pain and burning, nurses would suspect a urinary tract infection, encourage drinking lots of water, and obtain a sample to confirm the diagnosis. Missed opportunities result when patients present with conditions that nurses have not been trained to treat or lack the tools to address. When these situations arise, patients are left feeling helpless. This is too often the case for victims of one of the fastest growing public health concerns and criminal enterprises of our lifetime, human trafficking. My name is Natalie Sassi, and I'm an undergraduate nursing student at Widener University, researching the role of nurses in combating human trafficking. I am passionate about raising awareness regarding the power that nurses hold, not only in the public health sector, but also in social justice reform. Today, I will share how nurses can help those affected by human trafficking escape and lead them to recovery. Human trafficking is both a public health concern and a human rights violation that involves the exploitation of people. Defined by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security as the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act, this crime is the blood that feeds a leech of poverty and despair, creating a world war crisis. Most victims of human trafficking suffer some type of illness, injury, or psychological disturbance. Tragically, once embedded into the world of trafficking, victims have an average of 7 years life expectancy. While certain vulnerabilities increase the risk of trafficking, anyone can become a victim. In March of 2022, I had the pleasure of meeting Dawn Schiller at a human trafficking and healthcare panel discussion. Dawn is a survivor who has defeated both sex and labor trafficking, as well as domestic violence and assault. Her memoir, titled The Road Through Wonderland, Surviving John Holmes, shares the chilling truth of her experience with poverty, addiction, and forced prostitution, known today as sex trafficking. Dawn has allowed me to tell her story and has asked that I share the following statement. Thank you to those who continue to show up for the vulnerable, to those committed to looking deeper, with a heart of kindness and without judgment. Please know your compassion truly matters. It may be the only light in someone's very dark life. In 1976, Dawn migrated from Florida to California with her sister and disabled father. Dawn was just 15 years old when approached by John Holmes, 32-year-old porn star and manager of the apartment complex her family was staying at. John presented himself as a charismatic, fatherly figure, ensuring that Dawn's needs were met and that her transition to the Golden State went smoothly. However, it wasn't long before John began to groom Dawn. He became controlling and manipulative, stripping Dawn of the basic needs of life when she did not obey his commands. He showered her with gifts and affection, but would beat her over accusations of cheating. Behind a cover of his false father figure, he hid his true self, a pedophile, predator, and pimp. Dawn became an object that he bargained for and was subjected to John's physical and emotional abuse for years before breaking free from the chains of trafficking. Following the famed Wonderland murders, Holmes brought Dawn on his run from the authorities. A concerned patron who witnessed John physically abusing Dawn at a Florida hotel reported the incident to the hotel manager, who offered Dawn a way out the following morning. Without people like this bystander, Dawn would most likely not be with us today. We as individuals need to understand trafficking and abuse and know how to act in these emergency scenarios. There is no reason that Dawn had to suffer for so long. While being trafficked, Dawn was sent to John's wife, a pediatric nurse, on multiple occasions after being subjected to physical torture. Dawn desperately hoped that the nurse would raise suspicion of the cause of her wounds, but the nurse missed many opportunities to save Dawn. She could have changed the trajectory of Dawn's life, but instead, Dawn's abuse persisted through adolescence and adulthood. Victims of human trafficking often require medical care, which places nurses in a unique position to identify and assist them. Common presenting factors to healthcare settings include malnourishment, fractures, bruises, sexually transmitted infections, unwanted pregnancies, sleep deprivation, and mental health issues. Regardless of the chief complaint, time spent in clinical settings is of critical importance, as it may be the victim's limited contact with the outside world. In addition to physical signs, nurses should also look out for red flags such as limited understanding of time or space, lack of a permanent address, or inconsistencies in stories. There's no single medical complaint or red flag that indicates trafficking, and nurses must piece together the many signs that alert to it. Not only must nurses know the signs of trafficking, they also must know what to do when they encounter suspected victims. With proper training and standardized screening tools, nurses are equipped to do this. In Dawn's case, had her nurse been better informed, she would have been better equipped to recognize Dawn's signs of abuse and spare her from suffering down the road. You may be thinking to yourself, what could Dawn's nurse have possibly done to get her out of this situation? For one, she could have remained sensitive. After all, compassionate care is essential to earn a patient's trust. If a patient feels safe, asking something as simple as, "Are you okay?" could be enough for them to disclose their abuse. Perhaps if the nurse had recorded as many details as possible, she could have recognized patterns of abuse worth reporting to the police. After ensuring safety and privacy, the nurse also could have offered Dawn information of local support services for victims. Thankfully today, there is more dialogue as well as better efforts to end trafficking. As a survivor, Dawn recognizes the importance of trauma-informed care models, which are needed to holistically treat trafficked persons. Such approaches limit the negative emotions associated with trauma, such as vulnerability and shame, to help empower survivors. The World Health Organization has published a manual on how to interview trafficked victims using a trauma-informed approach. Non-governmental organizations, such as the International Council of Nurses, have been working on the front line to end trafficking. In 2019, the ICN launched the pamphlet, Human Trafficking, the Basics of What Nurses Need to Know, which outlines basic information on trafficking, signs to look out for, and actions to take if trafficking is suspected. Continuing education is another way that nurses can take an active role in combating trafficking. Today, there are online courses that teach the nursing process of human trafficking identification and intervention. Nursing journals and educational conferences are also functioning as educational tools for nurses. These mediums can enhance the nurse's basic understanding of trafficking, as well as the medical, social, and legal resources available to help victims. In many cases, ongoing support may be needed throughout their survivor's lifetime, and nurses must collaborate with professionals from other disciplines to meet the patient's needs. Nurses must dig deep to understand a patient's state of being. For victims of human trafficking, peeling away the layers can be a painful experience. Through advocacy, nurses can instill hope and resilience in survivors. Nurses who are informed and trained to combat trafficking have the potential to save thousands of lives. With that said, it is imperative that a stronger and more active partnership exists between governmental agencies and healthcare facilities already at the forefront of human trafficking training and education. There is no better time than now to give back the lives to those affected by this modern-day form of slavery. Thank you.